Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lost Through the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Josh Myota, and tonight's guest is Anthony Ross Kennedy. And this guy has done so much. He's a former U.S. Navy, still U.S. Navy. He's former U.S. Army captain. He's done biology. He's in social work, and he also does amazing stand-up comedy. So be sure to check him out. He's also on a host on the podcast One Love Culture, right, Anthony?
Yeah, that's right. We got One Love Culture. We got KLIT News, which is a component of the ARC Mental Wellness Center in Eugene, Oregon. So the ARK Mental Wellness Center has like the One Love Culture flowing out of it. It's got KLIT News reporting comedy coming out of it. And then we got the mental health piece, Red Tent, on the backside of it coming out of it right now. So we got a little bit going on. Just everything's just kind of starting, if that makes sense.
That's awesome. Got to start somewhere.
Hey, hey, I'm starting with people like you, and that's how I feel. Is that if I get out there, I think I got a message to tell, and I've just been connecting with people like you, regular people trying to make sense of what's going on, and then uh perhaps I may have some value in what I've been, trying to study in my own mental health, spiritual journey, but also I quit my job during the pandemic, right before the pandemic, to um, study spirituality and psychedelics, and how that would pertain to the ARC Mental Wellness Center and what it has exploded into, has populated into right here, right now, present right here, right now.
That's so awesome that you're studying that. I mean, I heard that a lot of people are using psilocybin to heal, actually, and a lot for PhD, right?
Yeah, and what I tell people, at least from my perspective, is imagine it. Imagine this is that somewhere in Pittsburgh, I saw some studies. I was given I was working for the family support program in the VA while I was getting my master's degree, and I heard some studies about psilocybin for veterans, and I was like, "Wow, what is that?" So I kind of looked it up, and there were some studies out there, and so I wrote some papers on it. Fast forward, I moved to Eugene. I'm working at the county as a therapist, and my the people that I'm working with, they all want to go to they want to go camping out for the weekend with me out in the wilderness, and we're going to participate in psychedelic experience. And then fast forward another 2 years, and the very first legal mushroom facility is opened in right on what is it 3300 Willamette Street, a LCSW female social worker psilocybin mushroom facilitator, and it's here in Eugene, Oregon. And so the synchronicity with me is just mind blowing, because I went to the I was at Pride Festival this last weekend. I said, "Hey, VA, they had a whole veterans booth there." And I asked them, "Hey, what's going on with psilocybin? You're never going to believe this. We're now giving veterans psilocybin in the VA. It's
Wow.
happening." So let's just follow, if we follow the cookie crumbles, if we follow the cookie crumbs, esoteric mythology in the mushroom is on every continent. It is. And then you have warriors who have been to warrior. We've been warrioring for what, 20 plus years now, just warrior, 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 and they've all been screaming, "Can you give us something more than these just antidepressants?" And it started out with micro studies, then it started out with macro studies, and then the we're beyond the studies. We're prescribing now, and so whoa. And it's not just mental health; it's pain. And so we started this podcast off with back pain and stuff like that, right? And so we
Yeah,
all
we're
know
talking
what.
backstage.
Yeah, well, yeah. We were talking backstage about this earlier, and talking about the back pain that we've encountered. and the surgeries, right? And so this this intermixing of the two are definitely intertwined, and it definitely talks about the warrior's journey. Homer's Odyssey, the Iliad, talking about the warrior's journey. That's what we're on. We're all on that.
We got into that in the last when I was on your show, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's if we're moving, if we're moving forward, we're understanding that. Wait a second, what would happen if we do all understand that? What would happen if we do all understand that there's also something very strange that our government is talking about, and we just stop really trying to like tell everybody we know exactly what it is, and we just stop for a second and go, wait a second.
Oh, can I pause and ask you a question? And then I
Yeah.
want you to ask. I'm asking Anthony Kennedy, the Army captain, this question.
Yes,
Why do you
ask.
think? Why did the United States government change the word UFO to UAP?
To help fully encapsulate everything that it is, and they still can't even do it. It's you if you want to know what it's phenomena. It's just like spooky quantum physics that is written about. It's in the UAP patent, it's in the CIA files, and it's in quantum physics Nobel Peace Prize 2022. It's that simple.
The other odd thing that's happening is the Vatican is starting to open up more about this. And if you look into some of their artwork that's like intertwined in them, there's UFOs. There's this one there's a UFO and like a crowd of people, and then there's like it looks like angels and then like little lines that are going to the people up to the UFO. Like, what
Right.
does that symbolize? And this is on the wall in the Vatican.
Right. It's on the wall in the Vatican. It's in other places. There's other artworks. There's woodcut artworks. There's just from a data scientist, a mathematician, data science, a macro level social work or sociologist, somebody that has a doctorate and just is like, hey, if we ask a certain number of people if they do this and a certain number of them say that it's this, and then we know we have a phenomena. I think we might be that's where I telling everybody that the archaeologists are really going to help us kind of show us that there's a lot of religious texts that kind of say things about mythology, and if we overlay enough of them, there's something to it. And then when we're talking about simplicity, it's really about cycles of stuff that happen, just regular cycles of stuff that happen on Earth.
Absolutely. I was going to throw this one out at you too because I know we love to discuss this. Is we need to go back to before America and start talking to the Native Americans here and talk about the moon-eyed people, the little people. It's that they have stories that go on and on and on, and it all connects with this.
Talking about the little people is going to be so darn important. It's I mean, when you just think about this, first of all, I heard my father-in-law, the archaeologist, talking about the little people, from an there was something in archaeology this week, and I'm like, you don't even know. I've been finding all kinds of this stuff for the last couple years. This is getting really exciting. And then the little people and what they're talking about with the stone circles, okay? And so it's like, wait a second, we got a couple overlaying things going on here. And I think for people like us that have an open mind, healing with the indigenous people of asking what their voice is allows us to enmesh better, like understanding we're awakening not to an indigenous thing, not to a people who owned this earth before, right? Us, we're awakening to a one consciousness thing, which is like amazing, and we get to heal. Somehow we're going to heal.
It's awesome.
I think healing with healing with by lifting up their voice is how it is like acknowledging, hey, uh perhaps my local indigenous community has some value, and it's my and I have an ability to connect to people who are connected to maybe more of the spirit and maybe of more of community and what nature means. And also they may be able to help link us with the technology piece that's coming, it trying to um digest spirituality and technology is hard.
Yes, especially in the age we're in. Have you seen them new things where they're made with stem cells and then they're put in robots? They're like little brains.
Yeah, and I just believe, like, when anybody tells me, I'm at this point of it, it's just understanding that, like, it's very clear that in the 60s, in the 50s, AI contracts were being developed secretly, and those documents are secretly, that were used to be top secret, are out, that you and I can see them, even though they're redacted. We can't even see all the information. So everything that anybody tells me in the news, do you see this? I already know that it's 50 or 40 years earlier. So it's like, yeah, that happened. That really did happen. It
It's
really did.
300 years. The the military's ahead of us, right?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, okay, so the AI people are
Not
talking
not
about,
counting Lockheed Martin, just like our military is like 300 years. But if then you dig them in, I don't know. There could be thousands of
right?
years ahead of
Because
us. I don't know.
if you just listen to the scientific people talk about what is the paradigm shift associated with AI being released, and when you look at it beyond a lip flapping and a I think, but you try to go, what are the scientists and the people who are studying humanity, what are they really going, what is this thing that they're talking about? They are definitely talking about spirituality. There's no getting around this. There's no way of hiding it. There's no way of making it up, ha ha, lip flapping. No, there's very real scientists that are in the very real UFO patent. If you take the UFO patent and you copy and paste all of the keywords in it and you put it into an AI, and then you take the quantum physics thing, you take the quantum physics Nobel Peace Prize, you put it into the AI, and then and then you ask, please sort through all of this. Tell me, do these intermix? There are scientists that are in both worlds. So now we're talking about propulsion and extreme AI. We're talking about, in the AI patent says, or in the UFO patent, the Space Force patent talks about artificially generated power. So I'm just saying it's both, and I don't even know how they get. I don't know how to get there, people, but we're getting there. We're gonna get there. We're definitely getting there.
Yeah,
And so, what does that mean? I think an archaic form of that was Nikola Tesla sitting by these large energy generating things, receiving strange messages.
He always said the Venetians were talking to him, and I honestly think we're coming close to meeting everybody that's in our galaxy.
Well, it's more important. If I consider my own role as a social worker, it's more, my role would be to um, focus this energy. Yeah, he talks to Venetians for what? For energy technology. That's what he got for.
Mhm.
Now, let's talk about Gary Nolan doing talking to whatever he's talking to, the woo he calls it, at Stanford University, and it's like the James Webb telescope of your blood, and he's talking to the woo, getting uh medical patents for healing technology for your blood. And then there's a former NASA person that's been to the Bledsoe home also, that Timothy Taylor, that has worked with Diana Pasolka, that has also got medical healing patents, and and they're working with, and so energy. And so what does this all mean? What does it really mean? It means that we're much we're we're much more magnificent than we even can
Mhm.
comprehend.
What are your
And
thoughts on med beds? Do you think that's a real thing?
about on what?
The med beds. A lot of people who are in the ufology and spirituality have heard about it. It's supposed to be this technology.
I think here's what I think about med beds is um it's very clear that your government knows something about healing and vibration and light in a way that we cannot comprehend. The evidence is this. The evidence isn't people writing on a whole bunch of things about med beds. That is like channeled, like lovely. It's what we have to understand that what is in the CIA files about healing and vibration and sound, how is it explored out? NASA astronauts and doctors and military intelligence officers doing stuff with the Monroe Institute. So, doing stuff secretly before the Monroe Institute, all of these medical doctors and intelligence officials doing stuff with like different forms of spirituality and then figuring out how to measure it and figuring out what it is, not to play around, not like kids in a closet playing around to win world wars. And then somehow, some that being kept secretly, but those people that are involved in it getting out and going, there's something really consciousness spiritual, and they've created something like the Monroe Institute. And what are they doing? The evidence of that is the people that they're connected to, former former combat veterans, former astronauts, right? People of stature and thing like that. And then like the Bledsoe family, they're connected there too. What's Emily Bledsoe involved in? I think she's got a master's degree in like sound healing type stuff, and she's doing stuff with the Monroe Institute. So when the in an eggshell is that the med beds is small thinking, just like the Neuralink thing in your mind is small thinking when you just match the evidence of like what is in the CIA files. There are generals, there are retired people talking about electronic warfare from above in over America in the 90s. The stuff that is like they call the Cuba syndrome now, right? In the 90s. So it's beyond that. And the med beds are an awesome, yes, like in like even bigger than med beds, right? Like yes, like I probably even more simple than we think.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So
It does. Our government really suppresses everything, and I totally believe you. I had a guest who's the MUFON director of California, and his mom worked for Howard Hughes, and she at one time was somewhere in the Middle East in this giant underground city. So, and now how long was that ago? And Howard Hughes was looking for
yes,
UFOs.
right.
So, I mean, this has been going on forever.
And well, and if you want to know about med beds, again, here's another scientific thing or whatever. The Essenes. There's two periods of the Essenes. There's a rise and fall of the Essenes, and it's these healing chambers in Ascension Keepers. So if you look up Ascension Keepers by William Henry, that Ascension Keepers shows something about the Essenes, about what I would call healing beds, rooms where
Mhm.
chambers where women or people for history figured out how to heal people, and they did it with sound and therapy. And I would think that there's all kinds of different modalities of women, and that's what I've been studying these last 3 years of my life. I've been traveling all over the United States studying women healing.
Okay.
I'm doing it even more now, and there's something to it.
Have you heard of the organ chambers in the 80s?
Yeah,
It was
and
like
where
these giant crystals that people would walk in and they would play frequencies through. He
well
mysteriously passed away too of a heart attack in public. So like, hmm.
Well, the orgon energy is very important to follow. and follow when you get to it, you have another person who figured out something, got kicked out of this country, got kicked out of that country, has a medical degree, is a psychiatrist, psychologist, and figured out something with energy and the stuff that they hide in world religions. There are phalluses buried, and we're even finding even more of them in the most ancient sites. There are phalluses in every library and museum all over the world, and they represent stuff. They mean something beyond dumb. Beyond comical or pornography or anything like that. They mean something beyond that. And so, uh, what would happen if somebody did figure that out scientifically, and that person ended up in Ashland, Oregon, right? And then that person ended up getting arrested and going through a whole bunch of stuff. But there's remnants about the Oregon healing chambers and the devices. And I would probably tell you, whatever the Bledsoes have told us about stones and measuring of stones and energy and consciousness probably can be accentuated in some sort of plastic devices, right?
Yeah.
Um, Mixed with stone and metals.
You're
I'm
talking
not
about the
exact.
ankh, huh?
Well, yeah, and if you just think about it, we have technology now that we cannot really 100% explain, but we can do amazing things with it, and
I want to
that's
throw
where we need
something
to
out
get
at
to.
you about them devices. Do you think that's the same thing that we see in the pyramids that they're holding? I do.
Yeah, maybe. Um, yeah. Hold on a second. I'm gonna plug my phone in. It's giving me a warning.
Okay. How's everybody doing in the audience? Do you have any questions? Feel free to shoot them out.
Yeah, shoot
Anthony's
him
just
up.
throwing a charging his phone. Oh, it's still here, bud.
Yeah, I just turned that camera off because I didn't want to get all weirded out. Okay, here we go.
Very true,
Yeah, so
Elsa.
what was your question again?
It's on the screen. Oh, she agrees with me. It wasn't a question. She just said tapping into our senses is how we can use for ourselves, not for them.
Yes. And you can see I I guess like in my local community in Eugene, Oregon, I'm really starting to learn how to what my role is and figuring how to talk about this. And it's like empowering people. It's like, listen, man, we are all very confused. This thing is not as complex as we make it out to be. If you go to the local bookstore or library, there's 8,000 different ways of becoming a better spiritual person or whatever. And what if we said, yeah, all of those are right, but here's a simple set of things that world religions seem to want to teach over and over. And then you say it's up inside of you. And it's like there's movement, there's laughing about trauma, there is understanding why you're here. Is understanding why you're here will probably relieve a lot of the pain for a lot of us.
Finding your purpose.
Um, Yeah, because when we get down to this, uh, I know that there's people in this world that are connected to indigenous nations that are connected to telling the Pope about the lady and the lights in the sky, and also, telling our government about it, presidents. And so, in my journey, it's spiritual, and it's like the most mind-blowing butterfly thing that you could ever imagine unfolding, and I'm just like everyone else, awakening like everyone else, going like, are you serious? And excited because I get to
Hmm.
like lift people up and say, guess what, apparently all of that is real, like bringing your internal intuition out, bringing it for all of humanity is real. And the more that we focus on wanting the best part of ourselves to come out, it comes out. It's a pretty
Absolutely.
amazing time to be
It is.
alive. If you're in the spiritual world, it's an amazing time to be alive.
And backstage, you're saying this all kind of started because of ufology, right? That's what kind of brought you to your spiritual side.
Well, I think I've always been spiritual. I've always been spiritual, and I had experiences as a child that I thought were maybe I thought were ghosts or phenomena. More importantly, they are impressions that overlay with like stuff that John Mack from Harvard has written about, and also that I didn't know about, because I didn't tell anybody about or anything. But also, they kind of intersect with like the Bledsoe timeline of what he's talking about, like blue aura things and a lady, a goddess type that wanted me to tell a message, right?
Which,
For me,
which,
the message was always, it was just she wanted me to use my make believe, and
wow.
use my imagination.
Is is the lady you're referring to Shiva?
She's the lady of a thousand names. So to me, I explained my mother that this lady looked like an opaque white, but she looked like my grandmother who was healed, and she was sitting on a large chair that looked like a maybe a rocking chair. I explained it kind of looks like grandma's rocking chair, but a large, very large chair, and she looked very healed, like she looked like my grandma healed. So. Um, but not, if that makes
Wow.
sense, because
Right?
she wasn't in those features. She wasn't in like I don't know how to explain it. It's all of those experiences to me only help me go. What I'm doing is right. Is telling people all of their experiences are real,
Here
and
it is. Can you
and
read
and
that?
just confirming that.
My wife just said, I've been reading of more people seeing shadow people and other things, in particular visions, people speculating maybe the veil is thinning between the spiritual world and ours. What do you think? I absolutely agree with that statement.
Yes, and if we I know my archetype comes from the darkness. My physical form comes from darkness, and I am here to harness the dark energy. There's no getting around it. My energy harnesses the darkness, and I look forward to the darkness at this point in my life because I have realized that I've been in front of it my whole life. This lady has been coming to me. I've had so many near death experiences. That's why I was, medically retired. These dark energies have been intersecting with me and other people. The Bledsoes have talked about it. The CIA Jim Semivan has talked about it. It's like some sort of infection like thing. And apparently there comes a period where us awakened ones understand this, and we somehow have the ability to transmute it. I don't know how to explain this to people except by just trying to like articulate it through my words of like just our thoughts have the ability to say no, I don't accept your darkness anymore, and I'm transmuting it for goodness. And it's like fire. That those words release the energy to go on and dissipate off into being whatever else it wants to do next, but not in a negative manner. If that makes sense, it's our thoughts and our spirituality are really connected, and that's
That's
written about a
wild.
lot.
That reminded me of like alchemy and like transmutation.
Well, and it's not hard to think about like, so I wrestled in college, right? So I'm an okay wrestler, and um And one of the things that I know that probably if looking back now or looking forward or however you want to look at it is that all athletes, all wrestlers who are very high level athletes, they don't train for second place.
No.
And so if you don't train for second place and you only envision yourself with your hand being held at the end of the match at the at the Olympics, you only imagine that, then that's you're only focused on that. And that may be sound really crazy if you're 5 years old, but there were people that won Olympic medals that thought that when they were five.
I
This
absolutely
past
agree with
week,
you. I was going to also say that, they say if you do something for 15 minutes every day, you end up in a year, you end up in that high, like master of this because you just keep doing the same thing. You keep focused and keep going and going and going. It's all mind over matter.
it is mind over matter. And when you were the immediate thought when you were saying that that came to me was like, man, I've been really telling my message for like 4 years. I am so tired. My spirit is tired. I am tired. I am wondering when the humans are going to lift this voice out of like, because I'm focused on bringing free energy, which I know brings universal truth about spirituality. And I'm wondering when that energy, that gust of wind comes, and I know that like we're going towards that. What the lady, what the things, the lights in the sky that I started calling with my family members at different times, what we, I guess, acknowledged with each other. I don't know how to tell people. Is it channeling it? How do you want to get it digested? Channeling it, downloading it, talking to it, experiencing it? It more feels like an acknowledgement of, oh, it's now time to talk about this. It's now time to
Yeah,
connect with like you and your wife and whoever else is going to view this podcast, and go, what the heck are we dealing with here, people? And also go, wow, we're part of we're, we're part of what Grant Cameron in the podcaster in Canada that talks about UFOs that's been to the Bledsoe home. We're part of the Super Bowl team. We're on the Super Bowl team. That's what we're playing. We don't even, some of us don't even know that we're on the field playing the Super Bowl, but we're actually like some of us are cameramen, some of us are like the person that just moves the flag down, but we're all on the Super Bowl field right now playing it.
absolutely.
And what happens when the actual people that are playing understand it's very important for us to love the cameraman just as equally because they make the amazing footage that gets on the everything, right? The cheerleaders somehow stimulate enough people over there to get some sort of weird chanting to go on that gets like us motivated to do stuff. It's it's everything that you think about in spirituality in a football game.
That's an awesome way to look at it.
Hey, do you know how many rosters on a football team?
I am not
Er,
sure. I am more of a UFC guy.
Oh, so it's a 53 man roster, right? And so
Right.
yeah, so the Oregon Ducks are flying with a new 53 man roster this year. And they're bringing that Hathor's Duck of Truth. The UFC piece of this has something to do very big with this. I don't think a lot of the fighting people are going to like what I have to say about the UFC and the Ultimate Fighting and all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not a fan.
I am a fan. I'm a fan in understanding that uh, it may be. What if it was? What if you were? Well, what if I just said it like this? There's going to come a point when the intelligent people on this earth go, wait a second, this wrestling thing about ultimate control and submission thing really has you really in a position of harming people, but not harming them. for a reason. And what would happen if you understood that you're getting people are going out there and getting their heads knocked in, hurting themselves, what we know, like the 53-man rosters. We know
I don't
it.
know. I'm gonna throw this out at you. If you watch the first 4 episodes of UFC, it's dominated by Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And
That's where
their policy
I
is
think
not to
yes.
hurt. Submit him. Do not hurt him. Do
That's
not
where
shame
I
him.
think
You
we
don't
will
need to
be
punch him.
refocusing. That's exactly. I'm glad you brought that up because I know I can see that. I actually see that like resurgence of going back to this like grapple versus the full like mess your brain up like we all know it's doing. But what are we still? We're still trying to get the submission, right? We when we can get the warriors to understand submission without hurting their vessel, like permanently hurting your vessel for some pyramid that you may participate in if you make it that far, right? But what if it was a whole submission thing without hurting the vessel? And I say if we can create the body or the vessel or protective equipment to do it, however we do it, is going to be amazing. And so it's about this. It's about submission and control and not hurting the vessel,
Absolutely.
which is the same thing about that we're talking about spirituality and versus world religion.
Yeah, there's
So
definitely a big difference. It's actually really disappointing in what the Vatican released. They're pretty much said, yeah, we know there's something going on. We're not going to comment about it. We're not going to talk about it. Don't ask us.
the Vatican has done everything that they need to do for us to have truth. They have the world's leading observatory. There are logs online of people from NASA and people in the UFO phenomena going to the Vatican to talk about exactly what you and I are talking about. And it's just a matter of time until enough people who have some sort of platform bring that out and say, yeah, in fact, and that, yes, in fact, the Vatican does have everything out in front of everybody openly. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing hidden. It's humans' interpretation. It's like there's stone circle in front of the Vatican. There's a Dionysus and Osiris statue in the Vatican. It's not hidden. Anybody can walk into it and see it. There's 53 square miles of hidden archives within the Vatican, underneath the Vatican. It is not hidden. It's out for all of us. I think if I had to interpret it, there maybe just going uh well, we'll just let the humans figure it out. I hope they don't kill us. I think that may be part of it.
Right?
Like, and that's kind of our piece is to help humanity not be so angry. When I awoken to this, you can look on my post on Twitter and you can see Anthony Ross Kennedy was very angry at Christianity and my own journey through it. And after my near death experience of like, what the heck happened? Why was I disabled, retired for fighting some darn serpent snake phenomena thing in my house? Right. And then also, why did my near death experience not match what happened when what I go to church for?
Right.
Right?
Why the praying didn't help.
Yes. And then understanding that I had this near death experience, I had some sort of weighing of the heart ceremony during one of these near death experiences. And some of the stuff that you would think should have been on that weighing scale were not on there. Okay. And so trying to figure that piece out also while I was seeing lights in the sky, like Chris Bledsoe was going through for a period of time, I went through so many lights in the sky that I had a like, am I crazy moment, right? Like, this is so mind blowing. They're everywhere, all around me, all the time.
How many times do you think you saw stuff, and what did you see? What shape?
Mostly orbs, but not. The more important thing is like I saw these light flashes, which are like in the hidden text of Ezekiel's wheels and stuff like that. What is it? Those it's like the white flash that's described as like Michael's white flash, this flash in the
Really,
sky, and
I almost like the old theater lights, right? Or like
it
what
was
they
like a
do for
strobe,
prom.
like
Yeah,
flash, right?
I have seen them as well, and I always am like, I'm way too far away from the football stadium. What is that? And I was like, oh, it's got to be like a radio station or something. You just
Yeah.
blew my mind.
Well, I think the part about those is I've seen those are the ones that I started learning on command. Like so, that's what I saw with Aaron, Genevieve, Hunter, Laura, um, Pete. Except that was quantum. Pete was on the other side of Eugene, but we were on the phone together. Some lady in Canada, I don't remember her name. She uses a screen name. Same thing happened. It's happened with me and Jamie. So we've seen that a
Wow.
lot. The other things we've seen right before the night before the cattle mutilations in Oregon, Hunter and I saw. This was in 2020 or 2019. I can't remember. Maybe somewhere in there. There's an NPR article on it. These we saw these amber things in the air together. Hunter and I saw them together. And then what I really try to focus on people is that by time August of 2020 came around for camping, I knew that I was going to test something. All of this has been about me testing, like, is this through faith? Is this real? And I called in for something that happened in front of my family. And, it was a big orange fireball. It was an a pink one on top of that, and it moved around Diamond Peak and in front of it. And then the night after that, there was this very real physical pillar like UFO tic tac thing that three of us saw.
Wow.
And that was very physical, and it pixelated out. It didn't just flash out. The other things flashed out. There was a cloud too, but the other things just flashed out. This thing pixelated out. For me it did. And I thought, and it went into a cloud that was smaller than it, and it pixelated out. And that is just like, and I know what I was doing. I wasn't there. I mean, I made it online. I made it with my family. I drummed.
I want to ask you about the last one real quick, if I can interject.
Yeah,
Do you
ask me
think that
about
was,
it.
do you think that was the U.S. military, the Tic Tac?
No,
No.
no, because because I am because my background does have this Christian background in it. So there are threads of truth, like me finding the 153 in the Christian Bible, but it's 2,800 years earlier in Egypt is important because what I read in the Bible about a pillar of the angel of the Lord appeared before the children of earth. An angel, it came as a pillar. Well, pillars is written about esoteric mythology all over in crazy ways. And so in my journey, yeah, could it be government crap? Oh, I guess it could, and I guess they could induce whatever. But then I have to go, wow, my government has been very interested in Anthony Ross Kennedy since 2 years old. It's the same feeling that I had in combat when they were shooting at me. It's the same feeling when the lady came to me. It's the same feeling when I ask to see it and I get an owl. It's the same feeling that I have when I'm with all of my different family members. And it's the same feeling that night. And so
You just
I don't know how to interpret it except that that's magic.
you see
And
owls a lot.
yeah, do you?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, my grandpa always taught me that it was a bad omen if you hear them 3 times. So I try to avoid them because of that like little superstition. He was part native, so I was like, always his thing. He's like, oh, if you see the all and he charges at you 3 times, it's your time.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know, I don't know if
I
this is a
think
joke he just played on me too, because he kind of was like,
the the owl synchronicities. Um, we had an owl synchronicity within an owl synchronicity while we were reading about owl synchronicities. Uh, and if you Google owls and UFOs, it will take you to the person
great.
who has written everything on owls and synchronicities, and it is true. Whatever, and you can read a lot about the interpretation of owls through in different mythologies, and that is very important as you're awakening because you just understand the owl does bring a message. Just because it
My
came, just because
yeah,
it came with something negative, the more times that you interpret, what is it here? You begin to read the environment, so you're getting an omen, and sometimes uh they
I
do
know
bring.
a lot of like other mythologies though, like Greek mythology, the owl is a symbol of knowledge and power.
Yes.
Athena actually loved them. They were like her matriarch.
Yeah, and the owl is like, well, in oh, if you understand like Horus mythology and the hawk or the eagle or the mythical phoenix bird that rises, the Horus hawk, the Horus that rises, or the more appropriately, maybe a more universal bird symbol is the phoenix. Just say the phoenix bird
Or the
rises. Well, then
Thunderbird.
yeah, you have the night version and the dark version again. And so you have Set and Seti. You're always having like this good and evil, and you're having like Luke, you can use the force for good, or Luke, you can use it for evil. Which way are you choosing?
I think that's the big thing in the universe that nobody really comprehends. It's the duality. There's no real good and evil. It's us.
Yes.
You have to have control, and this is like where I'm getting kind of like in the martial arts part in the Buddhism is you know you can't if the white fish eats the black fish, there's nothing left.
It's
That's the
true.
simplest way I can put it.
Right. And if the universe said, "Hey, I'm just going to come make a whole bunch of fish that only like this type of fish." Do you see, like, I'm only going to make all of the fish like male fish. And if that male fish sees that you like a male fish, they're all going to, no, that's not even how the world can work. It can't work that way. We all know this. You have to have balance, and there must be some sort of cosmic order, right? That's where we're at. We're the ones that kind of understand the purple of all of this.
I think the monks in China and like the last ninja clans have figured this out generations ago, and that's what chi is all about, and the oneness, and that's why you can hear that the Shaolin monks can do this crazy stuff, and they can live for almost 125 years. It's because they know how to control their energies and they know the power of frequency.
Yeah, and there may be some very strange things that we can do with our body that is beyond comprehension, and that to me, uh that exact piece to me gets me really excited about this whole phenomena, is understanding, oh, I went to this scientific conference in New York, and the lady that got the reporter that got the UFO tapes, she's also written a book on reincarnation, and uh also did work with the people that did the consciousness study that got the $22 million for the Skinwalker Ranch stuff. So it's like, wait a second, this is all intersecting. That's how I know my piece. What does a social worker do? They connect dots. That's one of their like main tasks, connecting dots. And I'm like, holy moly, those consciousness people over there studying mutilation, cow mutilations and stuff, are also studying consciousness stuff, and they're given $500,000 prizes for it. And so getting people to go, wait a second, hey, you have an idea over here, but there's people winning real money for this, and then $22 million was given to it secretly. What happens if we go there? What happens if we at least look there? I think there's going to be
Uh,
some people
you
find
you
stuff.
got. I think if you start looking into that of like, where's all the money going? What are these black budget programs doing? You usually end up in public having a heart attack. They have a nice little gun that can fire ice. I've heard all about. You back when I was a kid.
Yeah. And the good thing for us is it's like whenever I woke into this, I really went to the gnosis of why is this other former retiree Lou Elizondo talking about this with some rock star, and just understanding that they're in these emails, right, with like Putin and Trump, right? Whatever. It's just dumb stuff, right? But it's not. It's not, because these people, all of these people are really just trying to make sense like we are. They just got to be in a position of studying it from an official way, and I think it may be part of our role to just kind of like, oh boy, it's really strange, but also um, we should let the people who are super intelligent tell us about the real strange from their super intelligent perspective, and then help teach us how to filter it so that we can make sense of it. And then that's where the spiritual people who also are receiving it at a very chaotic rate, and there are so many different channels that what if there just was some sort of common, and I think that we're in the
Oh,
position of doing that.
we know there's a spiritual realm where we go when we pass on. And then we know there's like I've dived in. There's a lot with cryptozoology, but we don't know what's going on that. We share our planet with them. These weird beings. For instance, Bigfoots. They're on every. They're in everywhere. They're everywhere except like Norway. I mean, there's these few little things, but that would make sense that they're not in Norway. I mean, I don't see the Vikings allowing something like a that looks like a troll live on their land. um,
But hey, but Norway may not have Bigfoot, but they got the Hesdallen lights. They have a UFO phenomena inspection office in one of their universities that's been there for over 30 years. That guy's been just upgrading his devices for 30 years. They've allowed that professor to do that for over 30 years. And if you go to Norway, you'll see a place for the Hesdallen lights, and that's something that we ought to just consider. We just ought to consider the Hesdallen lights.
That's you. And we talked a little bit about mythology on your podcast, and I love talking about Vikings and stuff. Uh, isn't it weird that Odin seems to look like there's a lot of gods like him? A lot of the gods repeat, especially Hermes or Balder, whichever name you want to call him.
Whatever name which one do you want to pick? Oh, okay, you want to call it that. Oh, that's where we got to get to. Oh, okay, you want to call it
But they
that.
always had the same job.
They don't even care what you call it. Just like, just got to do my job, right?
Right?
um I'm pretty sure that that's where we just kind of we we you can see, because you've been talking to me for a while, and you can see that I keep just showing reoccurring cycles based on
Mhm.
star cycles. And then archaeology is really showing us, oh, by the way, guys, these things that he's been flapping his lips with about the stone circles, they actually do match the star cycles and stuff. So now we got to they may be more real than the actual just endless lip flapping about mythology and religion and stuff. They may be more reality than what we are. Just simple. It's just like, hey, when the alignment happens, the people that are a little bit off or a little bit strange, they just start doing their job together.
Absolutely. I
I
wanted to
think,
ask too, would you be willing to share your child experience with a ghost and some of your UFO ones?
yeah. So Yeah, because I think it's really important to understand what, because it's whatever's playing out. What my role now is playing out from my childhood. It's just is, and it's taken me a while to really probably accept that, eh, but also understanding that it's not an individual thing. It's like, hey, there's a cohort awakening. We're all on a very magical team, and Anthony, you have to tell the team about what they're doing. Don't concentrate so much on all of the the things of the world. Concentrate on the social work part of this internal journey, and you're going to be fine. And so that's what I feel now. Now, from my childhood, it's like I had my earliest experiences are very super nonstop chaos, trickster, mean things, nonstop. Uh, Unrelenting, non-stop attacks as a child. Um, Unrelenting, having me do things, strange things, like at 2 years old. You know, I keep telling people, you guys got to listen to my mother talk about this. Is you won't even believe it. Flipping mattresses, flipping chore dresser things in my room, uh, from the phenomena happening in my dreams, and acting things out, things that have happened, part of my disability retirement, things that happened that scared my wife at the time, happened to my mother in my childhood. Um, all of that ceased when I got my service dog. I haven't had any of those dreams, none of that at all. It's been nothing but like love dreams and like really strange. The 4 or 5 dreams that I've had since then have been love dreams. So understanding that these are like dreams or experiences, I don't know what they are from my childhood, but they seem to be overlaid with my dreams. But sometimes I'm ending up in the wheat field in Lebanon, Oregon, across the street in my diaper in a trike, right? And even after my mom's put locks on my room, so there's strange stuff
You
happening.
ended up. Hold up. You like were in a field, like you were got left in a field.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you think it was abductions?
It's
That's a
really
very good. I mean, man, you've been seeing stuff for your whole life.
it.
And
it
I've heard other
it's
people tell me this where they don't remember anything. They were sleeping and they woke up somewhere else. That's
it, it's really hard for me to overlay it. Um, if that makes sense, because uh, I don't know if it was an experience, if it was real, but my mother knows that she put locks on my door that I couldn't reach, and
you
to
okay?
her, it's very real. To me, it's I'm so far separated from them that I don't even have the fear of them anymore. And there came a point where I was holding hands with the crickety one. I was
Could
the
you
blue.
explain that? The crickety one. Could you explain
Well,
that?
yeah, so there was the blue aura things always came to my bedroom, and I could feel them coming. I could feel when, and that's how I know like the UFO is attached to this, because like when I my family can tell you is like, hey, I think we can go see him now, and we all run out to the porch. Can I see you? Flash, right there it is. That's how I knew that it was coming as a child, because I could. They come through my closet or near my closet of my room, and they were really short. But they took me to this crickety thing, which took me to like a place that I would explain as like burnt, scorched hell on earth. Like I showed it to my mother as like this hellish like place, but that's not what was going on. And that's what I've tried to help my mother understand is that I've had this red screen of like burnt, scorched earth, like that would come with like the earth scorcher, light bearer energy. But it's like, no, you don't understand. It's like you guys need to make some decisions about where humanity is going, and you got to use your voice. You got to, this is where the humanity is going. And I'm already awakened. I live in Oregon where like global warming isn't something that we're arguing about. The forests are on fire every year. We're all worried about forest fires every year. It's already there. And also Gary Nolan is talking about the things that are coming out of the burning orbs that may be poop, which is really funny too, by the way. The organic materials being dropped by the light orbs is kind of
I
funny.
haven't heard that. I'm gonna
Oh
have to
yeah,
look into
or
that.
the organic material that we don't have the ability to even make now, um, is the byproduct of the things that live definitely however they populate in, however they're connected to under the sea. They when they show up on Earth. Sometimes they're just letting us know, hey, we're here. And by the way, sometimes when we have byproducts. And so there's something you can do with this, which is technology.
Or maybe they're just dropping their shit here. They're just like clearing the tank. They're like, oh,
Well, I mean, they do it underwater too. So
right.
apparently, and what I'm talking about is the gifting field. So to for anybody that's following like official UFO disclosure, it's called the gifting field. NASA knows about it, and so do all the intelligence, not just the evil ones you want to call evil. All 13 of them know about it. So, and more importantly, we want to know about the indigenous people that know about them. That's where
Hmm.
we want to know.
There's one question. I'll put it back up for you. Can you see it? Does Anthony have a website or a channel?
Yes. Um, you can find me on the quickest way you're going to find me. You're going to find me very quickly. Uh, Anthony Ross Kennedy, Captain Anthony Ross Kennedy. You're going to find everything that you'd ever want to. I've tried to make my world as open for everyone as possible, and so if you're really interested in the divine feminine energy that's coming, the goddess, I'm not even kidding around. The goddess is incarnated on earth. She's telling the lip flappers to flap their lips about what happens when the goddess is here. I'm doing my job. If you really want to know where that goes, there is a women's red tent that is already associated with my podcast. And Jamie, my podcast partner from Missouri, she's kind of heading that up for the most part. Her and Shelly. So yeah, I'm really easy to find.
And there are the One Love Culture.
One Love Culture podcast. I'm just getting on to putting it all together into the arc mental well. So I've gone from this very chaotic spiritual awakening for me. Like I've awoken after a lot of people have already been through their chaos spiritual. And that was after my mental health thing after, dying. And so now I've had this spiritual awakening. That's been very chaotic. And now we're just putting it all together of like, what was it all for? And putting it into something like this mental health thing going on, which is also news, chaotic news
Right.
with chaotic microphones that aren't microphones, right?
Yeah, I love when you do that on TikTok. I'm like, I need to
Hey,
get something to talk into now.
I thought about just doing all my podcasts is like they all think, did they think that there's a mic or should I mount a microphone? Wouldn't it be funny if I mounted a microphone and a
You right?
camera in the right in the bung and just like the camera's there and so is the microphone. Have at it. I'm trying to have fun with this at this point because if we don't have fun with it, we just say all of the people that are trying to bring out truth are evil, and that cannot be the case. I can't believe that a whole bunch of people are trying to be evil, trying to talk about like strange stuff in the skies, just like all of us regular people that weren't in the military or CIA. I think they're just trying to tell us the same thing.
I think honestly, I think the people that are telling us that they're scary, they're freaking out. They know once we have full disclosure, the economy's going to crash. There's going to be a new way of living, and there's just people that can't let go. I mean, and honestly, I think they did a whole bunch of horrible things to get all the money that they have, and keep stuff quiet. And they don't want to lose control.
Right.
That's what it is. It's control and greed.
Right. And that exact piece is why people of us of like women or women and men who can bring this with some levity because we don't want collapse. Social work, Anthony Ross Kennedy, social worker. I don't go to the prison system and just "Whoosh, you evil piece of shit, you're done. You get more whipping now." No, we gotta figure out how to transmute all of the things that we call evil. How do we do that? That's the most talk about magic. Breaking things down and removing them and releasing them is very easy. You can do it with bombs, but transmuting it is magical. And that's what we're here to
Mhm.
do. We're going to I don't know how we're doing it, but we are going to do it.
I think there's a whole sense of magic in the world, and it's been long forgotten. And I think that it gets suppressed too. I mean, just like the power of manifestation. When you call that magic,
Yeah, magic, manifestation, whatever whatever language you need to use, goal setting, in wrestling goal setting 101. When I took my goal setting class in at Southern Oregon State University or State College, when it was SOSC, Southern Oregon State College. When I took that goal setting class, the first guest speaker they had was a wrestler who was a national champion who had a near death experience and couldn't stop crying about the orbs that he saw on the other side. And his conversation was about goal setting. It was about how that near death experience set him up to go goal setting. Can you imagine? I have this perspective, and every wrestler on that team took that class with me that year and knows that they're that it's about these orbs and goal setting and goal setting maybe magic, right? Just speaking it. Yes, yes. Oh, I love that. Yes. Thank you,
manifestation,
Shelley.
keep understanding. Absolutely.
Shelly from the Red 10 is here. She's here in Oregon, and her and I have worked together several times. And this thing about spirituality brings all kinds of people from all kinds of different places, and together finding this one universal truth. And
We gotta continue. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, keep
I
going.
was gonna say we gotta have your entire podcast, the One Love Culture podcast, come on off through the rabbit hole one day.
Oh, like a team podcast of just talking
Yes,
about. Oh my gosh. Listen, man, we when we get on, we start having synchronicities that are beyond crazy. Laura
we
and I
do.
just
It
had
was fun.
we I'm giving it to your podcast right here. The video I just made it out, but I'm giving it here. Is Laura just had a hair raising synchronicity like I have pretty much every day. She just had one with her cousin artist and Bansky and this little girl. Her cousin artist is like a real known artist in Copenhagen, in Denmark, and she just had a real big synchronicity. And then that took us to this Bansky article with a whole bunch of 153 um, address synchronicity and YMCA synchronicity in Bethlehem. And so this Bansky thing that just happened in the news and Laura's thing happening today, I'll tell you, we already had phenomena that to me, I would explain to you is like seeing the light orbs in the sky because I'm understanding that what Chris Bledsoe is talking about every day, lights in the sky, is lights in the sky, magic on the ground. And we're involved in that.
That's awesome.
And it's marrying those four components your biopsychosocial spiritual being. It's the marrying of these and understanding what that means for your body bag. Not Anthony Kennedy saying, here's your world religion now. I'm going to spoon feed it to you. I'm going to say, no, what's your body bag and how do you tune it like a very good team of auto mechanics does to get that car going around the lap as fast as it can go?
It's awesome. It's all about self-improvement.
Yes, together. And there's many components. You might have an expert tire man that says, man, you just need these tires, but you need to talk to the carburetor guy. The carburetor guy will get you going. It's not your tires, it's your carburetor, but you're down here spinning around in your damn tires, looking at every darn wheel that you could ever want. And it's about your carburetor.
Sally just said we are tuning forks. It's a good way
Oh,
to put it.
yeah,
It's a great way to
Shelly.
put that.
If we're gonna marry the knowledge up, then I will tell you we should look at Monroe Institute, we should look at the Bledsoes, and we should look at tuning fork number 528. We should definitely know about tuning fork 528.
Elsa just said compress of us.
And also, when it comes to tuning, that piece that I was just talking about, finding your own thing, one of my trauma responses that I now know is something that I'm bringing to the table is that at a very young age, I learned to tap. Maybe this is the ADHD, maybe I don't even know, but it's the tapping and it's also the humming uh, that pretty much removes me from dialogue. It puts me in a suspended state, a state that allows what is that? Your flow state. And so I think
Nice.
everybody finds their own hum or their sacred vibration, and every drum sounds different. Every tap sounds different, every hum. But together we make a beautiful Penelope, is that what is it? Penelope of
I believe
connections.
so.
Yeah. Panoply of connections.
Humming produces smelling. Wow. I have a cool fact that I just learned yesterday.
Tell us.
Honey stays good forever. Is from the frequency that puts the pattern in it from the bees flapping their wings.
I think that's pretty darn amazing. Uh,
Right?
and when it comes to bees their longevity, I
Or
saw there's a beekeeper on TikTok that grabs random. If they find a bee in a wherever they're at, they take it home and put it with their bees. It's not even of the hive, but they find a bee in like a spider's net, wound in a spider's by a spider, and they put it next to their beehive. And like within 10 minutes, all of the bees around it that it's not even part of their hive uncovered it. And I'm just like, this is so crazy. This is crazy. I want to follow that bee now. I want to know where did it go after that? Did it just go into the hive?
right? I'm like that with ants too. I'm like, what are you all doing? The best part is when they fight, and it's like, whoa, we're not dealing with you ones. Look
Do
at
you
them.
know about the do you know about the psychedelic ant that sacrifices himself for the good of the colony?
What? No.
Yeah. So the psychedelic ant that sacrifices himself for the good. So at some point, the sacrificing ant receives a mushroom spore that lands on them from above. A spore lands, a mushroom spore, and then as that spore lands on them, the mycelium starts to grow within them. And for some reason unbeknownst to themselves, they decide to climb to the highest plant leaf above their colony. And when they get there, the spore, the mycelium finally takes over and overtakes and eats the ant, and then a mushroom grows out of it, releasing more spores over the colony, which completes the cycle, but also keeps the colony happy too. There's some sort of symbiotic relationship to this. It's mind blowing. And perhaps there's humans on there. I think about my own experience of going to the wilderness with all these women in 2016 when I was working with them. And I think about that own experience of like, wow, I'm going to climb to the top of that oak tree and tell everybody about lights in the sky. And I don't even care. Magic mushroom, lights in the sky, and universal truth. I don't care. That's what we're doing. We're those individual ants that got those little bit of
Shelly
mushroom
said,
experiences.
yes, zombie ants. Um, is that the same thing? Is that the what you're talking about? The ones that like the thing grows out of them? No, zombie ants. There's like a parasite, isn't it?
Well, it's just understanding that if we were to think of them as zombie ants, then we would have to think of like, oh, that tree's a zombie tree because they're receiving the mycelium all through them. It's like everything's okay. Our government has definitely showed us, or through disclosure, that there is a mushroom growing out of a frog or a lizard or something. Okay,
Yeah,
and
that's like
so
a bunch.
I would think that just the mushroom, understanding the relationship of mushrooms going inside your body, may be different.
I wanna I wanna throw this out at you. There's that guy that was on Joe Rogan. He's everybody's trying to suppress him. He got kicked off of TikTok. He got kicked off of YouTube, but he loves mushrooms, and he's like, yeah, there's a mushroom that heal everything. And he's going around and showing everybody this, and then he's also saying they're lying to us about dinosaurs and how and the creation story. There was a point in time where the world was just mushrooms.
Well, what I would say to this is that um, the mushroom voice will be heard. It doesn't matter what my opinion is. It does not even matter. It's yes. The mushroom has a voice, and the word is, and the message is yes. Uh, when it comes to that other piece, it's been the DNA, the world renowned DNA expert coming from Copenhagen, Denmark, next year to the Archaeology Legacy Institute for the film festival that will speak here. That person is talking about cycles beyond cycles. We're talking cycles of indigenous people and camels before the Indians in Oregon believe that there were people here. So the people in Oregon believe that they were here a certain, but there are cycles of people that are much more ancient than the indigenous here.
Mm, I I'm a firm believer that on my other talk show we talked deeply about
Yeah.
that. There was definitely a civilization here before us,
Oh,
most definitely. And we
even
have
before the
the
indigenous, even before the indigenous, and then we just know, oh my gosh, we are
and there's a
we,
couple nations, including ours, that have artifacts for this, and we have replicated certain things that we have taken from these people.
yeah.
And I think a big thing with what's going on with Antarctica is there's a big civilization that they found in the ice. I mean, even the Nazis went there and like had that have that base, and that's when they started getting using jets, which is like that was weird. Like, why do they all of a sudden have all this knowledge?
And I've been personally interested in, as soon as I found out Admiral Byrd was involved in
Mhm.
the selling of the penguin to my university that I went to in Youngstown, as soon as I understood that retired Admiral Byrd sold some freaking penguin to my university, I got in on that. Like, what the heck is
That's
going on here?
wild.
Yeah, it doesn't even make sense. But more importantly, when you're just talking about Antarctica, it's
It
just a
kind of
recognized
does.
World
It
War II
kind
hero. getting paid lots
China.
of money to investigate really strange stuff. And when they said it, stuff about it, they told him no, or they didn't want his message. And it's just a for you people like you and me, it's a reoccurring theme of like shutting him down. And on the other piece of this, because I'm a social worker, right? It's not just it's not the same thing going on. There's a three-star admiral right now talking about lights in the sky, angels, freaking
Hmm.
orange things flying around when they were given a burial ceremony. And so that's the same thing that Chris Bledsoe saw. That's the same thing that I saw. That's the same thing that Laura saw. That's the same thing a lot of us saw. We should think about what the orange fiery things, the third order of seraphim, sometimes written about, or the thunderbirds. They're here and it's beautiful, right? We're experiencing it.
What do you think it symbolizes?
That the mother is here to express herself in whatever way you want. You can either listen to the message from her messengers, all of them, and she will bring about everything that you want, or you can choose to not bring about the message, and the earth will still get what it needs to survive because the humans are the hu- the humans are very aggressive on Earth. So she's here to let us know that the humans are very aggressive on Earth, and that we should just consider some of the really super amazing technologies, and just for some of us that are really focused on money, we should just like it's no electric and no gas bills,
This is
people. It's just simple.
this is wild. Everything you just said about the mother is almost every person I have heard from that was abducted that wasn't like scary. It was like it was the same message. It's like, yo, you need to cut the nuclear power that needs to be gone. You killing each other. Yeah, you guys need to stop doing that. You need to fix this. You need to fix nature. You want to come float around space like us and have nothing?
Yeah. And I guess, since I'm here telling this message and I know what my role is and what I'm doing, is that I really believe in I have faith. This has made me more spiritual, right? This has made me every day, everything I'm doing this is spiritual. This is not Anthony Kennedy. This is spiritual for me. It's all spiritual for me. And everything I do. And so we've already won. Everything you're talking about, we already got. We already got the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're already going into universal basic income. Yeah, we're going to connect as a human species. And yes, it is scary. And those things, whatever everybody thinks is evil, is yeah, those things really exist. And when it's not happening that way. Um, because it's time to connect through this technology. We have technology and we can talk about it being all evil and stuff, but I'm just telling you, I think there's a lot of cool things with it. Like holy moly, like seriously, we can actually connect as a species.
That'd be
I think
amazing.
that's amazing.
Yes.
I What do I think about voting? I think, what kind of stupid madness are we in, like between our eyes and our DNA and everything we know about that just outwardly, and like voting? I do. I think common sense thing, like what does that mean? Like we have ways of like verifying like how to get into the Pentagon that can't be broken into, but we can't figure out voting, and like I just like you do you
Here,
see, and then where
I'm gonna throw something at you since we're getting a little political, and I hate doing that. But what if we went like the sci-fi route? What if there's no more president, no more? We let the AI just take over. What do you think would happen? You think it'd be good or
well,
bad?
I think that's a very well, I
An
can't
AI.
unbox what I already know. So what I already know is that that fear of what already has happened already did happen. What you just said already did happen. But not in a way that the way to make peace with it is understanding what Jonathan Burroughs, what it took John McCain 5 years to get the military to acknowledge that really something really did happen. for a security element, and just understanding that they said they were talking to our higher selves from a different, maybe a different time period. I don't know if that's all true or whatnot, but what I would say is that
I think about it.
what
I
if
think
our
it'd be
higher selves
awesome.
what if our higher selves understood quantum? I understand I can read the quantum physics thing. I understand it from a psychological perspective. So, what if we just understood that time doesn't really exist, and
Then
that
the
we're going to create it, you and I, right here. We can just set the intention. We're going to create it for good. If I'm just a goal setting wrestling social worker in the environment, everything, well, it appears like people wanted to create it for evil, but I'm creating it for good right now with my intention. And I think it is that simple. I think it is that it may have already been created and that we're existing in it, and that's okay.
makes
We're
sense.
all going to be kind to each other.
I can't wait for that day to happen.
Have you already noticed how it's already happening?
I don't
It's
know. It's pretty crazy. At least over here in Wisconsin, everybody's all hyped up about the election, and I'm just like, I'm doing my thing. I don't care. Oh, you're watching
it's
that cartoon of our country? I don't like watching that cartoon. Bye.
it's it's so weird for me because some of my first visions, like I just have a lot of visions. I don't it's not just about UFOs. I know what was going on with politicians in Russia in 2018 on July 4th. And I know where the oil pipeline from Russia all the way down through the indigenous, through Canada, down through the indigenous land. People that I worked with in Eugene, Oregon, went and stood on that indigenous land for that pipeline. So I've already been given visions. I don't have an opinion about it. That's like the cosmic snake serping its way in. Hey guys, we got a new technology. I know we're all fighting about this oil and stuff. And yes, it is really real because it's real people's jobs and stuff. But what if something really was introduced and like, yeah, oil pipeline dude person, you're not losing your job. We're removing the oil pipelines now, job dude person. Like it's very simple. It's like we're just gonna reverse engineer stuff. It's not hard.
I mean, they're already doing it for weapon purposes. There's probably so many technologies hidden away by the government that are so beneficial to us. It's nuts. The day that that just goes away, it's gonna be great.
Uh,
Hopefully, we'll be alive.
Deputy Distant Assistant Director Christopher Mellon, who was a person that started this company with Tom DeLonge, Blink 182, with Lou
Mhm.
Elizondo, TTSA, all of this to the stars media. Christopher Mellon has definitely let us know, he's definitely given us little trinkets along the way for this, right? And what that means is that at least in my journey, is that there are very a lot of people in that have had a very hard time on this earth during this last 40 years that is really unfolding right here, right now. And there are people who are in money and in power and who have done things for our government that are really flapping their lips too. They are. They're talking about the spiritual stuff and in the best way that they can, they have their hands tied with NDAs. They can't tell everything.
Because they box everything away. I mean, everything is separated when it comes to this with the government. People, you know what I mean? Somebody gets a little piece of something, and the other guy gets a little piece of something, and they're not allowed to talk to each other.
That is what's gone on. It is what's gone on. And then as soon as you start marrying, like taking the technology that is written about in the CIA files, word for word, copying and pasting it, putting it into AI and say, tell me what these technologies were then and how would they look like now? or what is that now? Then it interacts with UFO and phenomena. It does. And it's energy. They're all in the energy. And that's cool for us because it's like that's the basic component of like your thoughts are energy, your synapses, the synapses in your brain. The neuroscientists are measuring the energy. The people on the History Channel measuring orbs in the sky with Christopher Bledsoe have a sensor on his brain that is measuring the energy in the synapses brain, the synapses responses in his brain. They're measuring that, and it's measurable like 0 to 1, right? And so imagine that, like, wait a second, he's talking about the goddess and the energy and the light. Okay, that's really spooky then, because then we all can measure that. What happens if we put all our measurements together?
Right? Or when you unlock all the powers in your brain. That's what I'm excited about.
We will be the best care bears that we can be. And what does that look like? Veterans hugging each other in the Rose Garden in Eugene, Oregon, not because we won a war, but because we're moving towards universal truth together, and that's occurring every day of my life, every week of my life now. We're coming together and hugging because the energy of the euphoria of after battle or whatnot. Um, we're we're getting shown that there's a euphoria after spiritual battle, and I can see the light at the end of this tunnel, people. I see it. I it's not even dark anymore for me. I see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's coming.
That's awesome.
Can you hear the steam engine? It's coming. Yeah, it's a really strange world we live in.
Absolutely. That's why I do my part in trying to figure it out and go deeper down the rabbit hole. It seems to
Yeah.
be never ending.
Well, the deeper down the rabbit hole is that, if I was to be honest, my journey, people are going to see some strange stuff from my journey. I should just say here right now, people are going to see strange stuff from my journey. Why? Because
I'm
I've
gonna
made it
get to
very
change how
clear
many Shelly
that
says.
it's important for something mind-blowing magic to come out of nothing, right? So
Right?
from a stone, like nothing's going to come out of that, right? And then something magical. So in my world, I'm just trying to hold steady and watch something magical come out of my sphere and wondering where that's going to go. That will be an indicator from everyone around me of like, oh my gosh, she's only been talking about one thing for 6 years, the same darn thing, right?
We're strange stuff, Shelly said. Um, I have another military question to ask you. We'll dive into a little bit. I know it's not your generation, but I'm sure you heard the story about Vietnam when the guys first got the night vision goggles that were in red print, and they claimed they were seeing monsters when they were wearing them and shooting at stuff. Do you think there's any truth to that? I mean, we also have heard of the Diocene glasses that you could make back in the 50s,
Yeah.
I believe, where you could see spirits. Do
I'm
you think that
positive that as soon as you put on technology, as soon as you started looking into the sky, you saw things with technology, including Galileo. So I'm positive they saw things. What I think about it is, yeah, put it on the list. You want to know what I really want to talk about? Wherever is it in the CIA files or the FBI? I can't remember. DOD. It's been too long.
right,
I want to
they,
know
they make
about
it impossible? So then
right.
they just drive on and rave on about nothing, and then there's good parts. And sometimes they just take the good parts out and it says redacted.
Yes, yes, they do that. And why do they do that? Why?
To make it hard because they are the ones that want control. And if you really dive down into them, they're the ones that own these defense companies. They're the ones that are screwing the middle class
Yes,
over right now. They are the
yes.
1%. Honestly, the US government would be so much better without them, but hopefully I don't disappear for saying
I
that.
think the people in Vietnam know exactly what the people in World War II know. I know that there's a story out there where there was an Australian gunboat that shot a howitzer round up to the UFO. The UFO encapsulated it. It did not do anything with it, and then 3 days later projected it back at the squadron, and the serial numbers are the same. Uh, we those are the things that I'm very curious in, is the things that accidentally got out into the 37 million, because I know that just as much as I do. They had to get people to try to get through all of those millions of documents and say, okay, release this one. Okay, put a black marker on that piece. No, put a
Mhm.
you can you imagine the level of work that they had to do with all of that? And then the ones that made it out that talk about it, well, then there are people living. There are people living that were there. Now we can match monsters
Mhm.
in Vietnam or whatever you want to call it, something that you shot at in the sky, and 3 days later it shot it back out you. Let's talk about those and then bring those other stories in. Bring them alongside. Say, oh my gosh, you're never even going to believe this. Then this happened to me, right? And that's where we're at,
Mhm.
is getting the very real scientific, real things that are in the weird files, and then getting people who have had similar like experience, and then accentuating each other, making it real, making those documents real by teamwork. That's where we're going to win
Mhm.
that piece. Yeah,
There's
so
a
it's
lot of
really
people.
real.
There's a lot of people that have taken the fuck, I forgot the word. It's basically astral travel. That we know the FBI has used it so much. They call it remote viewing. That's the word. There's a lot of people that have taken them files and been teaching themselves how to remote view, and I find that amazing.
People doing remote viewing should encourage that trail. I would encourage us as a species to very quickly try to figure out how many years they investigate it with people with medical degrees and PhDs for military and scientific use. I would encourage us to figure out that piece, because that's why. Because as soon as you marry the two up, as soon as a person who's studied a lot of different spirituality starts going, wait a second, it was this military officer with this credentials who is still talking about this, and they're going to South America how many times? And
Hmm.
then it will be that kind of like aha moments of not me telling you it's that military person, and then you go, oh, that those are just evil people. No, they're not. They're doing spiritual studies like us, like we are, and trying to make sense of it all. So we're in the process of all that. I think it's awesome because in my journey, I don't find any. Yes, it because I awoken after all of the trauma of like non-disclosure. I only awoken to disclosure, so I don't have all
Right?
of the trauma.
Which is awesome because there's a lot of people that have different side of it. I went to UMC last year to try to bypass it out with my hand. That's awesome.
The recently there has been talk about remote viewing, um, specifically from very high level people that were paid to investigate the phenomena. They would do regular remote viewing team things together. What I think happens between when I get on these podcasts with Jamie and Shelly and some of these women in teams, especially when I'm on the road, is that this remote viewing is happening. It's just happening. It's not 100% focused yet, and I believe that that's what happens when you find all of these archetypes. They're always on some sort of road. They're traveling together. They're always on some road traveling together, and they're receiving chaotic messages, and the chaotic messages comes with remote viewing messages.
Yes, there's so much to learn from them. I've
So we should
cursed them
all get
out.
on the road together on a big bus real quick, like, and just travel
Yes,
together. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
right. That's awesome.
What else do you want to know about? I talk about anything at this point.
I want to hear your deer experience again. I think that'd be cool to have on.
Which one? My first deer experience?
The white one, the one where you saw the like mythical one.
Oh, that was my father's. My father saw the mythical one. I didn't
That's
see the
definitely
mythical
awesome.
one. My father saw something that, understanding, my father and I have similar like experiences. Like you're talking about Vietnam. Imagine me sitting in, going to his 35-year reunion for the 199th Infantry, and hearing old men talk about when he died, but right before, or when they thought he died, but right before that, they were taking a rest, and they all sat on a snake so big that they thought it was a log just laying down in the jungle, because when you're tired you just sit down, and they thought it was a snake, right? And then, like, that's really tied to my dad's service, right? But my dad also, his experience in phenomena starts like, we both land in combat together. He lands on a helicopter. I come out a gate. There's a firefight happening. He gets out of the helicopter. There's a firefight happening. People shooting at him. Same type of experience of people shooting at me as I get out of a Humvee. So we have this overlapping thing, and it's like passing through, like shoulder surgery. We both had shoulder surgery. Hunter's had shoulder surgery now. So there's this reoccurring uh connection, and definitely with animals. So my dad had a white deer experience when he was hunting early on, and it was a deer near Lebanon, Oregon, near Crabtree, Oregon, that a lot of hunters uh, claimed to have seen, and nobody could shoot, even though they said they were shooting it. But my dad was just one of the people at the time that had talked about it. So just understanding that he's just one of the persons that was talking about it at the time is kind of strange. It's also a place where I've heard several people say that part of like Sweet Home, Oregon, Crabtree area, they see a lot of UFO stuff over there. So I
When
don't know
I
how true that is.
when I first heard of it, it reminded me of the story of the white buffalo.
Mm,
That's like the vibe I
yeah.
get from it. Because there's in that story too, every hunter tries to take him out, and they just find their arrows in the ground where he was.
Yeah. And even this journey has made me draw significance on, I'm looking at both I killed a large elk and a large deer, and I'm thinking about like the symbology of all of this stuff, because it's like me standing it over another body while it's going from one phase to the next, and like I have strange like UFO experiences with this. Like, it's not like what people may think. It's like a UFO experience for me. And both of my experiences had some sort of blood sacrifice, right? So like the day before, I got this deer that had this strange experience. It was like magical with my grandparent and my uncle and my dad, that I cut my finger down to the bone, this pinky right here. I still can't feel it
Ooh,
here. And then I shot this deer in a magical miracle shot that my grandfather and uncle told everybody, right? And it came with that feeling, the UFO feeling. The elk, the same way. It told me to pull over to the side of the road, walk up this mountain. I won't pull over to walk up this mountain. On the side of a hill is a large elk eating ferns. On the other side is the ocean on a very sunny day. And I shot this thing, and I got a black eye. I started bleeding down my face immediately. 30-06, 36. And it was brand spanking new. And so I think about these experiences. Both of those came with some sort of blood sacrifice. Um, But it
which is
also made me
wild.
connect about, like, what is the cattle mutilations? Why is that? What does that mean about those experiences and the cattle mutilations?
I've been trying to
Hmm.
put that together for a long time. But the sacrifice is cool when you think about it, because it's like the same way that our like ancestors were doing before they were even in this country.
It's our relationship with the animal. It gave me not to say, "Oh, you got to cut yourself before you." No, it's you're gonna cut yourself so that you understand you are giving something, like the UFO. It feels like the UFO, and it was magical because everyone around you told you it was, and so that you could tell people that, hey, the lights in the sky have something to do with the safety of our food and our spiritual connection to the meat. Everything about our meat and our food is going to change. I'm here to tell you that, not like the gas, just like the gas and oil industry, it's not here to collapse it. It's going to very quickly transform it into eating anything and everything you want to with this new technology that can make things, and we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out.
Like in the Jetsons, you just type it in and boop. I mean, we're already 3D printing.
If you do this, check this out. If you take the descriptors for B64 409 in the UFO patent. You copy and paste that, you pull it out, and you put that in the chat. And then you take the quantum physics things and you put that in. And then I think you put in anything about consciousness that was being done at Stanford. And you just say, how is all of this connected? You're going to find out that quantum entanglement and quantum physics and teleportation is real.
Absolutely.
I don't know
I
how to
honestly,
get there. I'm not here to tell people, I'm not here to argue with people. I just know that scientifically they're saying stuff about spiritual things that somehow married, and that was in secret parts of our government. What is it on the non secret part of our government?
right? We know the Vatican has the chronoverse. I mean, it's been talked about. There's documents about it where they can look into the past.
I would I would not be surprised about what the Vatican has. Um, but I would be more, well, the Vatican sent a note to Chris Bledsoe, and they told him to hey, they sent him a painting, and they also let him know, hey, make sure to stay your distance, because the energy that they produce, they it transfigures your body. And so Chris Bledsoe already knew about that because he's already had some of that. So you have to consciously, they're excited to see us. The lights in the sky are excited to see us. The little dancing one, when it came, she was dancing, just like it says about Persephone. She's dancing on waves. She was dancing, and I would interpret of what I was seeing is the little pink dancing thing was like a little excited puppy dancing right next to the big fire orange ball. That's pretty darn exciting, because if you read
That's
mythology
awesome.
and then you watched it in front of you, you're like, these things are excited to see you. And
Wow.
sometimes the dog, when it's really excited, sometimes jumps up on you and scratches you.
It's a good way to put it.
We're in charge of the interaction. They will show us themselves, and some of our interactions we've asked for a negative mushroom like experience.
Sometimes you have a bad trip.
And I think all of us are in the process of learning out, learning how to tell people what the truth is. One of the indicative things that we will understand is that your spiritual truth, for some people, they've learned to manifest the four components, the biopsychosocial spiritual, and it's brought a lot of abundance with money. And now they've spent a lot of time and money. And they make a lot of money, and they're telling people about, like, UFOs or lights in the sky, but they're not telling them, but how'd you get there? How'd you do
Right.
it? What was So you get to be rich and we don't get to be. Oh, so you're just like, oh, you're on the early stages of the reoccurring nonstop money. Well, you're on the early stages of that, because, yeah, that's how the people of money and wealth got to have generational wealth, because somebody figured it out, and then they either told people
Mhm.
or they didn't, right? And so we got to really encourage people to tell people, how are you manifesting this abundance? How do you get up every day and
We
manifest this
have to wipe
abundance?
out greed. That's the biggest thing I think as a race we need to do is we need to stop greed. It would change so much so quick.
Right. Like I tell Laura, I said in my UFO or in my TikTok, I have a feed that I pretty much I can see. It's like a collective of, and they talk about abundance and the money and the money and the money. And in the
Mhm.
back of my mind is like, I don't even want money. I can't even. Why are they always talking about this? But I guess I'm like understanding, like, you have to have money to move things. And
I
I'm
know
thinking, like,
exactly
my
what
life
you
is
mean.
so abundant already. I want to hear nothing about abundance of the message coming out, and it sounds like money. Maybe that's what I want.
Maybe Shelly said she knows the formula of magic. You have to email me that formula, Shelly, please.
Laura shared with me a formula for writing a story that is like the formula. I'm pretty sure that that has something to do with it. Laura gives me a lot of messages now, especially now that I know she's receiving messages from her university. Like it seems like whatever she's studying there is overlaying with what I'm flapping my lips a lot about on TikTok. So I started talking about Marvel Comics. Now she's got Marvel comic professors and stuff like that. It's just
Oh,
like
we can't
strange.
get into that topic. We won't stop talking. We'll be here
I
until like 8.
know. It's playing out, bro. It's playing out. What happens when the Marvel comics are all Care Bears and they're just love Care Bears and they're like, yeah, we're doing that.
Oh no.
You died. We're just
I
bringing in the
don't
microphone for KLIT News. It was a
I,
interview.
I don't know what happened. We just disappeared off the screen for a second.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel the Captain America is going to. Oh, come on. Yes. Jason, Captain America is unfolding, not even kidding. That star, whatever you know about that star, there's 50 of them on the American flag. There's one flag, 50 stars, three colors. It's purple. Captain America purple. Yeah, it's unfolding. That Sirius star wrapped in a circle coming at us hot, really super hot. And however it makes out, well, we should just know about. Oh, you watch Avatar and you see the scientists in Avatar about the things that they're creating. They're from Stanford, and it's the blue avians, the blue aura things, the blue House of Horus hawk ones. Yeah, that's
Wild.
how I roll with it.
I feel like there's a lot of soft closure in a lot of movies.
Well, it if you wanted to be if you could get people to consume this, listen, it's written about in the CIA files about they did Senate hearings on disclosures in the 60s. Here's what they wrote about it. Disclosure would come through television. Disclosure would come through TV. Disclosure would come through NDAs with universities who control and then when you start thinking about this and stop going with the control for good or evil, or like, wait a second, at some point our government did do that. For me, I've already got far enough down the rabbit hole to go, wait a second, they started interacting because some sort of goddess lady started interacting with them. And that's all. Everything that everybody's saying is really true, but it's unfolding right now because we apparently our grandfathers and grandparents voted on something that we all think is evil now, And that's really hard to consume. Is yeah, they voted on
Absolutely.
to conceal UFOs.
Which I don't understand why. Why are they so afraid?
Well, we're going to have to we have to confront that, and it's because I guess we're the ones that are confronting it, and we're not saying it's good or evil. We're saying, hey, there's something with phenomena, and we ought to get to it, because there are definitely people saying that it's good or evil. And how dare another freaking person or human in my world? I don't value any human that says, oh, I can have what's behind the door but you can't, because it's too
Absolutely,
scary
that's the
for you.
problem. We
That
need to get rid of greed.
Because then if it's so scary, then I'm saying move away. Let me meet my maker. Let's go. Let me meet my maker. Let's go. That's how I feel about it. I don't feel scaredy pants about it.
The black projects, yes. That's the problem, is the black projects. But we should probably cut it soon. We're at almost the 2 hour mark.
We talked about everything. We'll see what everybody
Yeah.
thinks about it.
Do you have any last words?
Well, I wanted to say thank you for. It's been a while since we've been discussing getting together, and it's been a while. But I'm so glad we got to have this 2 hour discussion. Uh, Full disclosure is moving forward. It's spiritual. It's not just lights in the sky making money. It's the goddess of a thousand names unfolding, and we get the good thing about it is it's something that we get to create. So I'm excited that you're here for this adventure with me.
Absolutely. I'm excited too. I'm glad I met you. Uh, on the other end of Anthony's life, he does comedy. I really wish I could go to Oregon and just catch a show, man.
Well, you're probably going to see some more of it, some stuff coming out of it that I don't even know about. I think there's people in my life that have been watching me for a while now, and I know that I got some surprises. I think they're waiting for the right time to bring the surprises out. And so I think that's getting ready to happen.
That'd be awesome. You deserve it, man. And you're hilarious on your TikTok. So we
Well,
need some new comedy in our lives, anyways, Kenny.
I think I keep telling people, buckle up. You're getting ready to see something that I don't even fully comprehend yet.
That's awesome.
All right, man. It's been awesome talking to you. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, no problem. I
You're
love
doing
that you came
amazing.
on. We need to do this again. You got to have the whole team with you sometime too.
Yeah. Well, I've talked to somebody recently about doing something regular in here in town. Somebody that's been doing Reiki for a long time and dance and stuff. So that's another thing. I'm really involved in the dance community here. So it's I'm at the yoking of the energy between dance and wrestling and combatives. There's something for it. So yeah, that's another
That's
podcast.
awesome. Yeah, we'll have to get into that.
All right.
So it's been 2 hours up, almost up, everyone. So everyone have a great day.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
It's been fun. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.